whole factor of things, to be honest. Obviously, everybody's heard about the energy crisis. And to be honest, I think that's the key reason why energy bills are so high. It's nothing to do with what we do or anything. It's external factors that have caused energy prices to be so high. In the past, obviously, when energy prices were more competitive, you could swap energy supplier. You could search around for the best tariff, but because in general, all the energy suppliers are buying energy at the same price, that's why it's the standard variable rate at the moment. So there's not a lot we can do about it, unfortunately. First thing really is obviously just making sure that you've got a good, efficient heating system. Whether or not it be a boiler or an air source heat pump or electric storage heaters, making sure that it's working well. It's also understanding how you control your heating. So we get a lot of queries where people have got air source heat pumps, which is a new technology. They don't quite understand how it works, but you need to understand how to use your heating controls. That is the key thing really. Whether or not it be a boiler, air source heat pump, storage heaters, you need to understand how to use your heating controls. Simple things are things like that we all know, like turning your lights off, not leaving things on standby, trying to use your appliances more efficiently, dependent on if you've got how you heat your home. So even if you've got a gas central heating, if you've got an electric immersion heater for your hot water, not having that on 24/7. Lots of people literally have that on all time, and there's just no point in doing that. It heats the hot water up and then it cools down again, and you've not used it. So it's just really thinking about the appliances that you've got and trying to use them less or more efficiently. It's a full service that helps people look at their energy bills, help them to reduce their energy bills, helps them to be more energy efficient by tailoring that advice to that individual to see what's going to be there to help them most. There are lots of agencies that are out there that are offering energy advice. I think when you say you get calls from energy advisors, there's a difference between people that are offering you energy advice and people that are trying to sell you something, i.e. get you to have a new boiler, get you to have loft or cavity wall insulation. They are not energy advisors. They are salespeople trying to get you to have something in your home. I would say if you get anybody that's cold calling or knocking at the door, you need to see ID, you need to check who they are, look them up on the internet, and just double check they are who they are. And if you're not happy, contact your local authority and trading standards and see what they're doing. But if they are a proper energy advisor, then they are there to help and support you and actually say, I can give you some advice on how to reduce your bills, but they're not going to try and sell you anything. It's very much tailored to what the resident wants. So we'll have a chat with the resident. We'll go through a few basic questions with them, check their heating, check their home to see what insulation they've got in their home, check their circumstances. We'll ask them to have a look at their bills, see if there's anything, if they've not been given up-to-date meter readings, check to see if they've got a smart meter. We'll check to see if they're on the priority services register. We'll offer them the generic, I say it's not really generic, but there's lots of generic tips and advice that we can give to people about turning your thermostat down, washing at 30 degrees. One thing that everybody is always on about is only boiling 1 cup of water when you want to boil your kettle, things like that. But also just looking to see if there's any extra help and support we can give. So we do income maximisation work, so we can do a benefits check to make sure that people are getting all the benefits they're entitled to. We can see whether or not they might get some help and support with their water bills as well. And also look to see, as well as doing some of the easy measures, that we can supply them with like radiator panels and light bulbs, seeing if there's anything we can do with the bigger measures, so the actual fabric of the building, so the heating and the insulation. Lots of different support is out there. So we would always say that if you're struggling to pay your energy bill, first port of contact is to contact your energy supplier and just see if there's any help and support there. So, if you are struggling, you can set up repayment plans. Some of the energy companies have trust funds that you can apply to that may be able to actually pay off some of your debt or reduce your debt. There's obviously the government support as well that's been out there. So I know that you get your cost of living payments, and make sure that you take advantage of that. Lots of local authorities have household support funds as well. So a lot of those funds will offer you top-up vouchers for your prepayment meter. So if you're struggling to top up your meter, you might be able to apply to them to get some help and support there as well. energy bill is really high. You're worried about that your energy bill is really high. Your house might feel really cold. You might have issues with damp or mold or condensation. I think those probably would be the key things that you'd probably look at, and you'd just be thinking it's really going to be the cost of your energy and how warm do you feel in your home. You know, if you're thinking, I can't afford to put my heating on because it's costing me too much, then probably think your home's probably not as energy efficient as it could be. Simple thing is, you could always just pop your head in the loft if you can access the loft and see if there's any loft insulation there. If you want to know whether or not your houses could have your walls insulated, rule of thumb is if your property is built before the 1930s, 40s, it probably means it's solid brick. So you're not going to be able to have cavity wall. Anything after that potentially can do. But one thing that you can do is have a look to see if you've ever had an EPC done on your property. So when you buy a property, you should always have an EPC, which is your energy performance certificate, and it will give you the energy rating and it will tell you exactly what insulation is in your particular home. You can do that online. There's a link online that you can do that. And even if your house hasn't got it, you can have a look at the others in your street and see if it has been done as well. So that will be one way for you to check. If you've got gas central heating, best thing to keep your home warm and to make it most efficient is just think about how you're going to heat your rooms and how you're going to heat the home as a whole. So if you've got TRVs on your radiators in each individual room, just tailor that to how high you need it for. So obviously if you're in your main living areas, we always say that you should be aiming for a temperature of around about 21 degrees. That's what is the government recommended thing. In your bedrooms, it should be around about 18 degrees. And on your TRV, you will have a thing that goes from 1 to 5. And literally you turn that up and down to have 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. So if it's a room that you don't use very often, then just have it on 1, because then you've just got very low heat that will keep the damp and mold away, but at least, but the heating is still on. But if it's a room that you use a lot, then you might want to have it on 5. Thinking about your actual programmer, again, it depends on if you're at home all day or if people are out during the day and they're only home in the evening. Think about when you want to time your heating to come on and off. So and just understanding how to use your controls. Most efficient way to wash your clothes is to wash your clothes at 30 degrees. There's lots of, all the new detergents and everything all say really good on a cold wash. So if it's just your basic wash your clothes on 30 degrees. Try and always make sure it's a full load. So if you can't do a full load and it's half a load, just make sure your washing machine's got that option for you to do half a load, but always try and get all your washing together. And then when you've actually got your clothes and they're washed, just think about how you want to dry. So if it's nice and sunny, and it is sometimes in the UK, get your clothes out on the dryer outside, get them out on the line outside. But if you're going to be drying your clothes indoors, if you're going to be using a tumble dryer, try to use it as little as possible because they are quite expensive to run. But if otherwise, try and dry your clothes on an airer in one room, close the door, open a window so it gets rid of the moisture, and that's the easiest way to dry your clothes. So water is a biggie. So you can have a water meter fitted, and obviously you can contact your local water company to check. Some of them will allow you to trial it for a year and just see what it is, so you can actually monitor what water you use. But simple things are like when you're washing up, wash up in a bowl, don't wash up under, a running tap. When you're brushing your teeth, turn the tap off. And the big thing is like when you have a shower rather than a bath. And when you're having a shower, just have a shower for 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be particularly long. But those are the key things. And again, you can get, again, for your water company might supply these free of charge, but you can get little blocks that will go in your cistern. So when you flush the toilet, it doesn't use as much water as well. And think about, when you're watering the garden, do you need to water the garden every day in the summer? Recycle some of the water. You can also, from your water companies as well, they do little gel packs that you can put in your planters and stuff. So when you water it, it retains the water. So you don't have to water it, you don't have to continually keep watering your plants as well. You can, but if you leave your TV on standby, what you need to bear in mind that it's probably using practically the same amount of energy as if you've got it switched on. Because when you put it on standby, what you've got to think about is all the little electronics that are in the back of the TV are just waiting to be fired off. They've not switched off completely. So if you can switch your TV off, switch it off properly. Don't leave it on standby.